A lovely welcome from MBC. Welcome to this special edition of MBC Exclusive, and we are privileged to have the chairperson for the Malawi Electoral Commission, Justice Dr. Jane ANSAH, and we're having her just after the Supreme Court of Appeal has made a ruling on the presidential case. This was an appeal case to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and we are privileged to have her in the program. You're with me, Vincent Konyonga. Please do keep me company. Welcome to the program, Madam.
Thank you.
We are meeting at a time when the Supreme Court of Appeal has just made its ruling on the presidential elections appeal case. First of all, how did you receive the ruling?
I received it that it is a ruling that has brought the dispute to an end.
Now, it's brought the dispute to an end according to your explanation, but are you satisfied with the outcome of the ruling, and has MEC started complying to some of the rulings that the Supreme Court made?
What we should know is that in the legal process, the court process, the highest court of the land is the Supreme Court. Now, we know that litigation must someday come to an end. And when you have gone to the highest court of the land and it has given its judgment, that it has brought all the disputes to finality. So when it is like that, it doesn't matter what somebody feels, but what matters is that the highest court of the land has given its judgment and it has to be complied with. So the MEC has already started complying with the court orders. As a matter of fact, it started complying even with the High Court order. So it has not stopped at any point complying with the court orders.
When this issue was initially brought to court in the court, the main issue that was there was the issue of the use of TPEX to have been used in a way that was advantageous to one of the candidates. From the ruling of the Supreme Court, what is the position as regards that issue?
At the very beginning, the main issue was the use of the correcting fluid called TPEX on the results sheet. And there were suspicions and allegations that the TPEX was used for the advantage of a particular candidate. But the court found that TPEX was not used for the advantage or the disadvantage of a particular candidate. In simple words, the court did not find that there was any rigging through the use of TPEX. With the allegations of rigging, those were not found to be truthful. The court has dispersed those allegations.
So do you feel vindicated?
Oh yes, definitely. Because throughout, they were pointing fingers at me that I received a bribe to favor a particular candidate by use of TPEX, and the court said that TPEX was rather used for correction and not to favor or disfavor a particular candidate. And even for your information, because of those allegations, in certain places they call the church I belong to a TPEX church. They call a TPEX government. So I believe after the judgment it is a misunderstanding. Because as far as the judgment is concerned, TPEX was used for correcting errors.
From the same ruling of the Supreme Court, people really expected to hear much on the issue of tripartite elections in general, whether indeed they will only call for fresh presidential elections and not the whole tripartite elections, looking at the fact that it was the same commission which handled the whole process?
Well, it is obvious that the way the court has treated the elections, they have only looked at the presidential elections. In fact, we treated all the tripartite, all the three elections in the similar manner. For example, it was the same constituency tally centers where the presidential results were first tallied before they were taken to the district tally center. The same with the members of parliament and ward councillors. The first tally was the constituency tally center. The second one, the district tally center.
Looking at the fact that the Supreme Court did not really come in clear on this issue of tripartite elections, what did they say about you as commissioners on the way you handled these elections?
They said that we were incompetent.
The Court had also come up with this ruling. You had indicated that you only resigned from your position after the Supreme Court comes up with this position. Now that the Supreme Court also said something similar to that, what's your position as regards that issue of resignation?
Well, what I can say to begin with is that I am a human being, I am a lawyer, I am a judge, I am a wife, I am a mother, I am a sister, I am a daughter, and everything. That tells you a million things. And I'm also a church minister, and I'm not a liar. But before I answer that question, I would like to take you back maybe to the reason why I have stayed on all this time. To begin with, we've got laws and regulations in this country. And I am not a lawbreaker. I respect the law. And we have got multi-party democracy. I was there when we discussed the Constitution, when the Constitution was drafted, when the provisional Constitution was passed, and when we had the Constitutional Conference, looking at the provisional Constitution and finalizing all the sections. One of the important ingredients for democracy are the independent institutions. Malawi Electoral Commission is one of the independent institutions. The judiciary is an arm of government, but it is an independent arm of government. An institution, to be independent, it must make its decisions based on the law and its mandate, and not being influenced by anyone at all. Now, what independence stands on the three legs? Those people, like commissioners, judges, the way they are appointed will enhance their independence. Their remuneration will enhance their independence or uphold their independence and removal from office. In these institutions, you find out that the president appoints. For the make chair, it is the Judicial Service Commission that comes up with the judge that should head the commission. But after coming up with that name, the Judicial Service Commission passes it on to the president who appoints. But in actual fact, it is the Judicial Service Commission that does the appointment. But officially, it is the president according to law. Judges and the commissioners, the chairperson of the commission, they must do their work without fear. That maybe if they have a decision, they come up with a decision which is not favorable to the appointing authority, they will lose their position. That's why their removal, it is in such a way that the appointing authority comes at the end. It must go through the parliament. By recommendation, it goes there. So when there were allegations against me, first and foremost, I looked at the allegations. The allegations from HRDC and the Right Honorable Chirima, both of them, they wrote to me. And among other allegations, they alleged that I had acted in favor of a particular candidate, in this case, His Excellency the President, and that is buttressed by the fact that I attended the inauguration of the presidency. I attended the swearing in of the presidency. But as you can see, I did not go to attend these functions in my personal capacity, but I went to attend this function in my official capacity. In the same way, the Chief Justice went to administer the oath to the President in his official capacity. So I was there as MEC chair, and that has always been the practice, and I believe it will be the practice even in the future. And the other reason they were pointing a finger at me is that there were photographs that were taken. Yes, I took those photographs. As I said before, when we were going, I was accosted by these young people. They said I should take with them. And I took pictures. Definitely, we take pictures every time people meet. What are pictures for? The pictures are there, the photographs are there to mark the occasion. So that was not a big deal for even anyone to go and to demonstrate and to try to make a big issue out of it. And the third allegations in their letter is that I attended lunch. And at that lunch, the judges were there, the diplomats were there. I went in my official capacity. So why should they pick on me that I attended the lunch? I attended the swearing in, and the diplomats were there, all the officials in the government were there. So I thought it was just an allegation that was coming from ignorance. And having said that, as I'm saying, that democracy is actually enforced and strengthened by the independent institutions. Is it true? So for me, being part of the independent institutions of MEC, I was not going to join people, lawless people, because those demonstrations, to me, they were lawless. Why? Because there are so many rights in the Constitution. You know, in fact, the actual rights, they begin from section 14, 15, but the Bill of Rights begins from section 12 of the Constitution to section 46. There are so many rights. And no right is absolute. All rights have got limitation.
In case you're just joining us, this is a special edition of MBC Exclusive right here on MBC. And in this program, we're having the chairperson for the Malawi Electoral Commission, Justice Dr. Jane ANSAH. She's speaking to us just after the Supreme Court of Appeal has made a ruling on the presidential elections case. Keep watching MBC. Welcome back to this special edition of MBC Exclusive, and we are privileged to have the chairperson for the Malawi Electoral Commission, Justice Dr. Jane ANSAH, and she's here giving us an interview for the first time after the Supreme Court of Appeal made its ruling on the appeal case on the presidential elections case. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Yes, before we went for the break, we were talking about issues to do with demonstrations. We had people here doing demonstrations, and you're saying that every right has got to go with responsibilities.
Yes, and in fact, our constitution is one of the special constitutions or Bill of Rights. The first kind, this kind of Bill of Rights, it's found in the African Charter. Of all the regional human rights instruments, it's only the African Charter which makes a provision for rights and responsibilities. And also the Malawi Constitution in the section 12, it also gives responsibilities, duties to the right holders. That when we are exercising our human rights, when we are enjoying our human rights, we also have a duty to respect the rights of others. Now, why do I say those were lawless demonstrations? Indeed, our Constitution makes a provision for the right to demonstrate. But it's not just the right to demonstrate the way I have said it. It actually says everyone has got the right to peaceful demonstration. Now, the word peaceful has already limited the demonstration, the right to peaceful demonstration. It is actually limiting that right. Because what it says is that if the demonstration is not peaceful, then it ceases to be a right. A demonstration must be like the other types of demonstrations we have seen. I've been to countries where there were demonstrations, like in South Korea, there was demonstration when I was there for 3 days. But for the 3 days, business was going on as usual. People were passing by where they had congregated and making, shouting, singing. They never attacked anybody. They never broke vehicles and so forth and so on. So I knew that my tenure of office is secure. I can only be removed through the processes that the law provide. So I was not going to budge down to lawlessness and be bedfellows with lawlessness.
And come the 28th, they're also talking about another demonstration calling upon you to step down. How do you react to that?
I don't think they have to, because I haven't listened to them. I will listen to the law. I will respect the law. I will respect the processes. If resigned because they were doing demonstrations, or they are doing demonstration, then I am setting a bad precedent. In the future, if a judge is writing a judgment, mind you, the High Court is a single judges that sit, and you sit and there's an uproar because of that judgment, and they could demand that the judge should resign. Should the judge resign and not be heard, not wait for the processes? So I believe democracy must be preserved in this country at any cost, and that is why I did not resign. Even during that time, when they were demanding that I should resign, there was a demand that was made within the judiciary where they were calling for the Chief Justice and the Registrar to resign. And I saw that if I had resigned, people in this country would have thought that the holders of offices in these independent institutions can just be gotten rid of by demonstrations. And those demonstrations were not even the rightful demonstrations. because they were not peaceful. So the people ceased exercising their rights. They were just lawless. And I was not going to budge to them, neither am I going to budge to lawlessness. But the law, definitely.
Now, are there any legal processes currently underway as regards your future at MEC? And what about that of the commissioners that are there? We are told their contract also comes to an end in June.
Yes, at the moment there are no legal processes. That is why I have written to the appointing authority that I'm stepping aside, because I respect the judgment of the Supreme Court, not the demonstrations. That's why I stood through the demonstrations. But the highest court has spoken. Yes, I have to step aside.
Now, after writing the appointing authority, has there been any response to, as the appointing authority, has he accepted your decision?
I have not yet received the response, but I believe he respects my decision to step aside.
Now, talking about the Malawi Electoral Commission, when you look back, are there times when you sit back and say, I could have done that better, now that you've decided to step aside?
In fact, I don't regret. I did the best.
What about your relationship with fellow commissioners? We heard one of the commissioners actually making some allegations during the committee of parliament when they had summoned you. One of the commissioners actually said you were sometimes working alone, making independent decisions without involving them. My
comment to that is that if you follow through, all the commissioners that went to PAC, they were asked individually. No one supported that allegation. And for your information, we always work together, and our decisions were by consensus. And when we say consensus, she was part and parcel of that decision. The only thing I can say is that at the end of her interface with PAC, she asked the PAC to keep a secret of what she had told them. To me, whatever I say, even with somebody, if I'm talking about another person, I am not afraid to repeat the thing before that person. But that fear will only come if what I'm saying is not true. And it's really very surprising that she said that, because even the other commissioners thought that I favored her. But we have a lot in common. She is a bishop. I am a senior pastor at my church. Her mother came from Mulanje. My father came from Mulanje. Her father came from Ncheu. My mother comes from Ncheu. And her father settled, had a farm in Edeza. For me, both my paternal and maternal grandparents settled in Lilongwe. That's why, for all purposes, I am a Lilongwe person. And I participate in our village activities. The chiefs, they know me because we do things together. I am basically a Lilongwe person. So as you can see that there was a lot in common that we shared. And when we say we shared, the most important commonality was the fact that we both believe in prayer and fasting. We spent times praying together. We fasted together. And if you can recall, when I was before PAC, I went there prepared with all the minutes of that we had, and in particular the minutes that we are taken at the National Talent Center. I wanted to give them, but PAC was not interested to receive those minutes, but I had them. They said I should submit them afterwards. Yes, I submitted them. So when she said I took independent decisions, I really don't understand what she's talking about.
Now, what about your relationship with the Supreme Court judges now? You're a Supreme Court judge yourself. How is your relationship after such rulings?
Well, it's normal. I haven't been to court yet. I will be there, we will meet. But basically, most judges, we work in our chambers. We only meet when we go into court.
With your decision to step aside, what's the way forward? Are you going back to the Supreme Court, or what happens?
You know, the position of MAC chair, it is not a full-time position. It is part-time. So all through the 4 years I have been around, I was coming to the commission to do the work. At the same time, I was sitting at the court with my colleagues. It's only last year when the work was so much with MAC that I asked if they could not include me on the panel of judges. But otherwise, I have always been there. But I'm still there because I have some outstanding judgments that I have to write before I exit.
So before we close the program, how would you want to be remembered as MAC chair?
During my time with MAC, there have been many positive changes. And when you ask people that have been here at MAC, they say if there has been a very good election, the 2019 election is the best that MAC has ever had since its establishment. And I am happy. You know, the MAC officers that have been here 20 years above, they have been here that long, they have made assessment, and they know what they are talking about. Yeah, I have worked very well, truthfully, with clean hands, and that's it. I live full of confidence. And in fact, people, they wonder, they've been asking me, how have you managed? You know, people with the pressure they were mounting, they were expecting me to have a stroke or to fall down and die. But you know, God is amazing. It is during this time that I have been healed of high blood pressure. My blood pressure has been normal, and from January this year I have not been taking my blood pressure medication. I check my pressure, it's normal. So you can see, how have I achieved that? You know, when you know the truth, you are not afraid. I had no skeletons in my wardrobe, and neither do I have skeletons in my wardrobe today. You saw the allegations, I received money. I believe people have gone to check my accounts. They have checked everywhere, even my relatives' account, even my children and everybody's account, and they have come up with no evidence. Because if there was anything, according to the allegations, my bank statements would have been shared around. I know that people don't, you know, as a human being, there are always people that would like you and support you, but there are always people that will dislike you and want to tear you apart. When my daughter told me, she said, oh, your driving license is passing around, it's on WhatsApp. I said, my daughter, that is the only evidence that the people out there have that I have got a genuine driving license. Later on, they took my medical aid card. It was also bouncing around because those are the only pieces of evidence they could get. That yes, I have it, but So, yes, I have fought a good fight, and I go happy and satisfied that I have endured to the end.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you in the program.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we had time for in this special edition of MBC Exclusive, where we are privileged to have the chairperson for the Malawi Electoral Commission, Justice Dr. Jane ANSAH, SC, and she was speaking to us right after the Supreme Court of Appeal has made a ruling on the presidential elections appeal case. So from me, Vincent Konyongwa, keep watching MBC.